Okay, so yeah, what I was suggesting to do was on North Korea. What happened was I was listening to a podcast with let me get her. I'm sure I'm gonna butcher her name. Let me pull it up. She was a defector, and she just described, the intense starvation over there. Yeonmi Park, Yeonmi Park. Um, and she's become an activist, and she's been speaking about freedom, and she's described it in such a way where it's basically just a modern day Holocaust in North Korea. That's uh, that's just suppressed. Like for the problems that I see is that China has influence over Hollywood. And for example, this is why we don't hear about North Korea and all the negative things that happen over there. So what she described was Hulu made a movie on the North Korean leader who killed his half brother in international airport. Do you remember that a few years back?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so they made the movie on it, just as an example. And then when Disney purchased Hulu, they removed it because China is intertwined with North Korea. So they don't have North Korea stuff come up in headlines. It's like it's all being suppressed in its own way. And she's described what she thinks are the motivations of that. But I wanted to, keep you in the dark a little bit and kind of maybe do a mind probe on Kim Jong-un, I think his name is, the leader.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so you want me to send you his picture? Can you Google it real quick?
No, I know what he looks like.
Okay. All right, so you got him pulled up?
Yep.
So why does he suppress the people and not do things to fix the starvation issues over there in North Korea?
Why does he suppress the people and not fix this? Because it keeps him in control.
So he does intentionally keep the people in starvation.
Yes, because it makes them dependent upon the government to feed them. It makes sense when you think about it.
What would happen if China didn't support North Korea?
He said we'd lose. I don't know what he means by that. What would you lose? Everything. I feel like China gives them a lot of money. Absolutely. I do feel that very strongly. I feel like China actually supports their weapons program too.
What's their strongest weapon that they have?
I'm saying, do you have a nuclear missile? No.
What's
I'm
their
getting no.
What's their strongest weapon?
What's your strongest weapon?
Yes.
Huh. Mind control.
So what's their strongest weapon against the rest of the world? The rest of the governments against the United States?
The strongest weapon against the United States? Propaganda. Isn't that funny?
But how does
you're talking? We're listen. Don't think that we're mind probing somebody who is, right in the head here. You know what I mean? This isn't like mind probing like a normal.
But he was educated overseas. Like he wasn't North Korean. He was educated in Germany, I think. I'm probably getting that incorrect, but you get the idea. He went to colleges and stuff in different countries.
Yeah, but he was, he had an agenda. There's an agenda. There's, you're shaped by what goes on around you. You're shaped by, he was brainwashed from an early age anyway.
Okay.
It's all about power and control. If people are fed, if people are happy, they're not relying upon the government, and therefore he loses control.
Could he fix the starvation if he wanted to?
Easily, yes.
Okay, so what does he have health concerns where he can't live, like, let's just say another 10 years?
Do you have health concerns? He's telling me now, you have to understand this is a very subjective view. Okay, I feel objectively he does have health concerns, but subjectively he's telling me no. He feels like he's going to live forever.
Does he believe he's a god, or is that just propaganda?
He believes he's up there, definitely. He believes he was appointed by God.
So does North Korea have hackers in-house, so to speak, or do they use China hackers and they kind of white label the fact that, oh, well, we're in North Korea and we have our own hackers? Do they use Chinese hackers and then say that they're North Korean, or does North Korea have legitimate hackers that are ready and capable?
No, they use Chinese hackers. They do. They use Chinese hackers.
Do they have bioweapons? Like good
Yes.
bioweapons?
Do you have good bioweapons? No, but they have bioweapons that they would use on their own citizens. And if necessary, on others.
Anything that they would be able to use in the United States? Are they able to attack the United States for anything?
Are you able to attack the United States for anything? I mean, not via air. No, not on US land. Now, I'm seeing that there's some sort of something out there, some sort of military base that they could possibly go after. But as far as like launching a missile, he just said to me, we would need China's help. So launching something to hit the land here, no, it is not strong enough. And just remember, as we're doing this mind probe for the audience, these are the answers that are relevant today, which is what, August the 6th? Are we August the 5th today, or August the 6th? I don't even know.
Today's the 6th.
Yeah, August the 6th, 2021. So this is good information for today. Now, if he comes up with a nuclear weapon next week, by the end of next week, then our information is not good. But this information is good for today. That's what happens when you do mind probes. You're pulling information for today.
Does he feel subservient to China?
He feels equal.
He feels equal to China.
Yeah. He feels as if he's their equal.
Does he feel like the equal to the United States?
No, he feels better than the USA, because he's saying that the USA does not have control over their population, yet he has control over his.
So his major influence is control over his population. Like that's his MO.
And propaganda. You see, let's go back to that question where you said, what is the most powerful weapon he has? And he came back with propaganda. Well, yeah, that works over there, and to some extent, I guess it could work over here too. I mean, if you think about the crap that gets put out on social media, you don't know who's behind it. The BBC have done documentaries where they have teams of, people out in Vietnam and, no man's land that are creating fake news stories, and they're making a ton of money off of it. So they're, political agendas are paying these people to make these fake news stories. There's nothing to say that he couldn't do the same. Although the US has tried to crack down on the fake news, they're really cracking down. But then it's like when everybody says, the fact that the virus was created in a lab, that's fake news. That's fake news. Well, is it? No, it's not fake news. It was real news. So now they can't even figure out what is, real news and what is fake. They're too quick to, judge and say, well, this is fake news, but it's not, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
So it's all gone. The pendulum has swung the other way now. Whereas before, everybody was turning out fake news, fake news, fake news. And no, I'm not saying this like, don't equate me with a Trump supporter. I'm just saying it as an independent. So politics isn't even, in my thing. I could care less. But the thing is, it's just, I've noticed that, some of my friends got put in Facebook jail because they said that the virus was created in a lab. Well, and that was fake news. So who's to say that Kim Jong-un is not creating fake news stories and infiltrating? Are you doing that? No, he's saying no. But I mean, it's always a possibility for any nation.
Can we pull up the Chinese leader? What's his name? I probably should know this stuff. Who's the Chinese dictator over there? Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it
I know
before.
everyone calls him the Winnie the Pooh looking guy. So
Yeah.
can you pull him up and we'll do a mind probe on him?
Yeah, I mean, you have to think a lot. They govern with very different ideals to how we do. And people, I know nobody's completely happy with any government, but I think we're very privileged in some regard that we're not being dictated to by North Korea. I mean, how awful for those people. Now on a CTT level, they were chosen to be born in North Korea, and that adds an additional layer of discomfort to their life. So, the starvation, and we see people going through really horrible times in their lives. Well, the CTT teaches that we chose those, and actually those souls that do go through a more difficult time, if they can process it and get through it, they may ascend into a higher level when they do cross over into the spirit world. So, when you're talking about people born the North Korean citizens, the North Koreans, I mean, their life is very difficult.
Yeah, okay, but
so
what about,
was he appointed by God? Who knows? I could see why he would believe that.
But is there consequences to him? I mean, he has to fill this role as like an evil leader, but are there consequences to him in the afterlife? Is his soul trying to potentially like overcome those emotions of wanting to control people and, being seduced by power? I mean, what would be his past life? What are his lessons? What would be an example past life where now he's in this role where he's the supreme leader of, North Korea, which is, it's like being the head of a rat.
And think of that soul contract that he made. I mean, that's a soul contract that he has made with all of us around the world. Okay, so these people that end up being world leaders or massive influencers, they made this soul contract with all of us, all that have access to the information, or we live beneath him. So, that's a soul contract. He instills a lot of fear in people. He instills a lot of anger in people. He instills starvation, poverty. He has all of these, and all of these life lessons are being played out on a daily basis by the citizens. So if you want to go in on a deep CTT level, that is, I know 3D, looking at it in 3D terms, is he's an awful yes, of course he's an awful I'm not saying he isn't, but what his role here today in this lifetime, and what I'm getting very strongly, is that actually if he could throw away the brainwashing and this need for power and control, and actually make a nice place for the citizens and not starve them and not mind control and propaganda and everything else that he does. He executes people as well. I feel like he poisons people. He puts people in jail for no reason whatsoever. And those are his lessons. His lessons are that he is to love himself and humanity enough that he wouldn't treat people this way. So again, this is a huge soul contract that he has with all of us around the world.
What about his sister? Should we do a deep mind probe on his sister? I couldn't imagine having two evil siblings, like there has to be some morality there. Can we do a deep mind probe on her and just see what the family structure is? Kim Jung-un.
Where is she? Kim Jung?
Kim Jung, yeah, I'll send you a picture
Oh,
of
I
her.
see her. Yeah.
Oh,
Is she so I have a picture of the two of them here. Is she the skinny one or the kind of round one like him?
she appears to be somewhat skinny, and maybe her forehead, like she's
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
receding hairline a little bit. I don't know. Is that
Yeah.
her?
Yeah. I've got her.
Okay.
How do you feel about the way your brother treats the citizens? It's good. You see that? It's good. Why do you think it's good? Because it brings more power to our family.
Would she be the same way if he were to pass and then she would get power? Is she next in line? I don't know.
Would you be the same way? No, she would not be exactly the same. I feel like she's more of a feminist than he is, and I feel like she would empower women more. But on the whole, uh, would you be exactly? No, she wouldn't be exact. Would you still have that stronghold? Yes, she would maintain a stronghold. Do you believe starving people is power and control? No, it's cruel. She says it's cruel. So would you make sure that people are fed? No, it's up to them. So she would have a more laissez-faire capitalist system in place, where people have to feed themselves. Would you have more of capitalism than, communism?
So she would introduce money into the similar to what China did, where they adopted capitalist values, even though they're technically communist, but they're like capitalist communists, where now they have a lot more money. She would implement a similar structure as China.
Yes, she likes that structure. She likes it. She thinks it's very intelligent. You still maintain power and control, but you have a lot more money coming in. And of course, they would siphon most of it off in taxes and, that sort of system.
What does she think about her brother?
She thinks he's a very good leader.
Does she think he's smart?
Very.
Does she think that she could do better?
Does she think that he believes that she could do better?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't listen to anybody. So even though she does try to give some sort of ideas, and especially the fact that she's female, no, he doesn't listen to anybody. He has one person at the top with him that is like his confidant, that makes good, tries to put little good ideas in his ear, but he ultimately always says that they're his ideas.
What about does she ever fear for her life that her brother would kill her?
No, she says we're close. No, what about the other? Was it the half brother, or was it a
I
full
believe it
brother
was
or
an
half
uncle.
brother?
It was an uncle in North Korea, but the interesting part about the half brother was that it was overseas. It was international.
And he was poisoned, wasn't he, by two women, gassed or poisoned?
I believe so. It's racking my memory, but I believe that I remember it to be interesting that they used this particular compound that was like supposed to be like sending a message. That's what I remember. I could be wrong.
Let's ask, why did you kill him? Because he was a threat. So he was a threat. Why was he a threat? He was leaking information.
Which one, the uncle or the half brother?
The half brother.
Yeah, it makes sense.
He was leaking information.
Would they prefer to? Is she next in line? Is she a successor?
No, she doesn't want. Do you want to be? She said, "Yeah, I'd like to be. Would you?" No.
Because she's female.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with it.
What? But who else would be the successor? Is there another brother or sibling or something I'm not aware of?
No, I feel she keeps saying passed down. So who's next in line?
Maybe he has a son or something I'm not aware of.
Let's see. I don't know. I can't. I don't.
Following the second son of government official. Listen, I'm sure they have a family. I'm sure they have family, or she has a son or something like that. Okay, so
Yeah, they really. I mean, she's too soft for. He believes she's too soft for. Do you
can we
do you love your
do?
sister? Yeah, he does love his sister very much. Can you trust her? No, I don't feel like he trusts anybody.
Can we? What would he do? Can Americans travel there, or do they seek to like make examples of Americans when they travel to North Korea?
Do you think it's safe for Americans to travel there? Yes, very safe. Would you follow them? Always be. They would make sure they're followed. They would. He's saying confiscate. He's like, in an ideal world, confiscate their phones, confiscate their access to information, not allow them to talk to anybody. Listen, that's how he runs his country. I'm not saying they don't have phones, but they don't have access to a lot of the information. That it's all about power and control. It really is. If anybody thinks that any government isn't about power and control, think again. Every government around the world is all about power and control. It's just some are more lenient than others, but then the lenient ones usually end up being very, very corrupt. They're lenient, but the politicians are, drug runners on the Caribbean islands. You get what I'm saying?
Can you ask him what is the biggest threat to his power? What's the biggest threat? What would be his downfall that he's afraid of?
It's the biggest threat to his health. What is the biggest threat? He's showing me his liver. Have you got liver problems? Yes, he's got liver problems. Do you drink too much? Yes. He's got liver issues. He's got a fatty liver. He has liver issues. Do you have heart issues? Yeah, he does have some heart issues, but his liver issues are the main concerns. He's got issues with his kidneys as well. He's got urinary issues. So he does a lot of damage to his body. It's not like he tries to really, I mean, listen, you don't need to be psychic to say this, where he tries to keep himself fit. He doesn't eat well, things like that. So I mean, basically, as far as his health's concerned, even though he knows he has health problems, although he doesn't want to really face them, he's in self-destruct mode. Well, you know that when people are in self-destruct mode, they try and take everybody down with them, right?
Yeah. So what about Xi Jinping, the Chinese president?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Goodness me, we're jumping all over the place. What would you like to know?
Why do they maintain North Korea? I feel like they kind of prop them up and make sure that North Korea like basically exists. What is their motivation for doing so? Why would they do that?
For maintaining North Korea. It's good for business. Do you have a lot of business Yeah, they have a lot of business dealings with North Korea, but what else is good? I feel like there's a lot of weapons things going on. Did North Korea make your weapons? No, we make our own weapons. Okay. So why do you need North Korea? Okay. So his answer is it makes our system of government look good.
Oh, like they're not the worst.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Oh, well, we're not that bad. There's somebody much worse than us. Good grief.
So, I believe that defector that I brought up, Yeonmi something, she mentioned that they like when North Korea is there and Tibet because it's like once you collapse North Korea, then they're gonna, make Tibet a country, and it would be kind of like a domino effect of. I guess I'm repeating. There's no way to ask a question without knowing what the question is. Maybe I have to skip this one.
I
So
don't
it's
feel like North Korea is going to collapse as a country. I feel like it will eventually be transformed, But don't
But
forget, the people at the top, not just the leader, but the people at the top, they like the power and control too, because they benefit from it. Even though they believe that they're safe, they're actually not safe. They could be killed at any moment. So if there was somebody that was placed in power that did decide to become a little more lenient, right, then you've got a problem that they may try to overthrow you or even kill you off until they get a very rigid leader back in. They
could,
don't, people are funny about stuff like that.
what does President Xi Jinping think about North Korean leader Kim Jong-un? Say that 10 times fast. Sorry.
Yeah, say that 5 times as fast as you can.
What does he think about him? Like, does he respect him? Does he think less of him? What's their power? What's the power plays? How do they feel about one another?
He believes he's desperate. He's desperate.
He's silly at all, or
do you think he's silly? No, he's evil. He believes he's evil man, even though they're almost on par. But do you believe yes, he's very crooked. Does he have a lot of backdoor deals? Yes, loads of backdoor deals going on that people don't know about. Do you monitor him closely all the time? Do you have surveillance on him? Yes, they do have surveillance. Do you have somebody there that passes along information? No, but they do have surveillance on him at all times, because he's just saying like he's a loose cannon.
does he help him? Does he make weapons for him, or does he host the hackers? Does he let North Korea use the Chinese hackers?
Yes, he says they borrow them from time to time. They pay money.
Does China use North Korea as labor?
Yes, they do. Sometimes, yes. And he's laughing because he says he'll make them work for free.
Does he have any interest in liberating the people there for humanity, for humanitarian purposes?
No.
He just allows it to go on and it's not his business? Or does he feel like it's worth the evil to keep the power structure in place?
He likes that power structure.
Yeah.
He likes it. I mean, they feed off of it. I said, do you believe he's mentally ill? And the president of China said, yes, absolutely.
Does he suppress the information about North Korea in the United States?
No, he said they do a good job of that themselves.
North Korea does a good job of suppressing the information in the United States?
Does North Korea do a good job of suppressing the information by themselves in the United States? He's saying we help, but they tell us what the boundaries are, the limits. So they just take direction.
And then
the Chinese take direction.
So the Chinese take direction from North Korea, who then influences Disney, for example, to pull down movies and scenes about North Korea in the United States, right? So China
basically, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a complex way of looking at it, but yeah, they don't want to, to air their dirty laundry, because it makes them look bad. They try to keep what goes on, and that's a cultural thing as well. You pretty much keep your business to yourself. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like business as in financial business, things like that. I'm talking about your like family business, and you just try to not concern anyone else with your problems.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'm running out of questions for them because I feel like everything at this point is obvious, other than the Yeonmi Park, who's the defector and the human rights activist from North Korea. Um, she was recently on this podcast, which kind of motivated me, to ask these questions. But can you
Mhm.
pull her up? Let me see if I can get you the name. Yeonmi.
Yeah, let me I found her. Let's
You did?
see.
Yeonmi.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to put in female North Korean defector.
Yeah,
North Korean defector, she comes up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Park Yeonmi. So, so she told this story, an incredible story, like really incredible story. Was all of it true? Did she embellish any of it?
It's all true.
Yeah.
It's all true. Did you embellish it? No. Are you in fear for your life? Yes. Are you in fear for your family's life? Yes.
I think all her family now are dead in North Korea. Is that true?
Are all your family dead? No, she says two people. Are they distant? Yeah, they're still related. And the way that the system works, they will find them and kill them.
Or are they in a prison right now?
Are they in a prison? One is.
Does she think that she's going to make a difference, changing North Korea in any way?
Do you think you'll make a difference in changing North Korea? She hopes so. I mean, that's her goal. But let's find out. Let's ask Spirit. Will she make any difference? No.
What does she think about the United Nations and anything that they can do for human rights over there?
Do you believe in the United Nations? Yes, she does. I mean, you have to understand, she's saying that this is what gives them hope. But then our view of the United Nations, is they're pretty useless on a lot of levels. And I'm not saying that overall, but that when you're dealing with a country like North Korea, how could you even penetrate something like that? You know what I mean? So, I mean, for them, if you ever go to these poverty stricken countries, if anybody's ever traveled to one, or maybe you're listening, you're in one, what are the two things that you cling on to? Politics and religion. Okay, why? Because those are the only two things that give you hope when you are stuck in that situation. I've actually lived in no, I'm not saying England is. I've actually lived in a country that was, very poverty stricken. I didn't stay for very long because it was dangerous. But, I noticed that the two things that they all clung on to were politics and religion. And there was an election coming up, and I had to get the hell out of there because it was getting very, very dangerous. And so I feel very strongly with her, politics and religion. Yeah, absolutely. That's what they cling on to because they think that's the only thing that's going to make a difference. Now, you can enlighten the rest of the world, which she is doing, which is a good thing. But what can you do? I mean, he's not a person that you can even have an open discussion with. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't take on somebody that mean and just horrible is not open to change because it's power and control. So really what needs to be done is we should get a big group of people together, who can learn the CTT, and we all do a tapping circle to send him the messages that he needs to relinquish that power and control and clear that energy out, and maybe there would be some effect. You know what I mean?
I think that he wouldn't want to relinquish the power, but to transition North Korea to more of a capitalist structure and to essentially, end the starvation over there would be something. I mean, it just sounds like what she described. Like, for example, one thing she mentioned was she just starved her whole life and she never knew the boundaries of like how much she could eat. Like that she used to joke with her sister, like, oh, I can eat 100 pieces of bread. Her sister, I can eat 1,000 pieces of bread. I can eat 1,000,000 pieces of bread. They didn't know that you can eat to a point where you're full. And like
Wow.
just was never like she was never full before. She had always been hungry her whole life. they used to like, she
Mm.
would describe how kids would chase the rats that would eat the dead bodies that were piled up, and
Mm-hmm.
they would start with the eating of the eyes, and just her story is profound. I mean, just a real eye opener to the complete injustice in North Korea, to the point where it's a noble cause to think of ways to liberate those people, or just to make their lives like better in a little way. I mean, we have a
The
problem.
only way, the only solution, listen, when, if you want to bypass the red tape, the only solution that I can see is really that is very effective is the CTT. You start clearing out that power and control and that hold over people. And of course, the CTT does a whole brain. I know people are going to listen to this and say, Liz, this is so bogus. I'm sorry, it's not bogus. We've done multiple trials on different people. We've worked on addicts. The CTT would then, because he's hardwired this way. So you would actually have to go in and rewire this brain, which is not malleable by any stretch of the imagination, right? So the only way I could see is to do CTT. I mean, if you want to go into the Lynn Buchanan style of remote viewing, he had to influence political leaders. But when you're doing that type of influencing of political leaders, you remember he was influencing Gorbachev, and
That makes sense.
you remember, and he says
Yeah,
how he knew he had some effect was that some of the language that he was using to influence Gorbachev came out with, right?
yeah.
So that's how he knew it was effective. But you have to go in and do this type of remote viewing. He'll even Lynn Buchanan, who is the master at this, will even tell you may have to go in 12,000 sessions, where you don't have to do that with the CTT. That's what I love about the CTT and why it's so much better than that style of remote viewing, which is the fact that you don't need to do 12,000 sessions on the same thing, right? You'd have to go in for remote viewing and say, you need to free your people, you need to and you're talking with, whereas the CTT, you say, okay, why do you hold on to this power and control? And then you find the reason, which is, in the CTT protocol, you remove it and you just keep working in layers. And I'm not saying it's going to take 12,000 sessions to see an effect. It probably would take, what they're telling me is about 8 sessions. So then have I just put the weight of the world on my shoulders? Maybe. But,
Well, if anyone wants to do CTT circle with me and Liz regarding you know, uh, what would you say, healing the leader of North Korea? How would you say? Well,
yes, it would have to be, you would
just
have
write
to
in the
heal
comments,
him.
or send us your information. We'll do it. We'll set up a time and we'll do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. At least we tried something. But I have to
Yeah.
say, with the CTT, I can't say it never worked. I can't say every single time there hasn't been some change or something notable.
Hmm.
Could it be placebo? Maybe, but I don't know, man. It's just so, it's such a strange
It
practice
is. It
that
is. It's
it's
hard to explain.
super hard to explain, super hard to justify, and super hard to ignore it because it's so quick and the results are there, and it's
And
work.
how would we be able to monitor the results? Because, the information doesn't actually leave North Korea. So again, we would then have to do probably a round of CTT to make sure that the information does leave somehow and we get appropriate feedback. So, you have that added thing as well. When you're dealing with a situation that has no, you cannot get information out of until you have somebody who's a defector. Well, she's gone. So it's not like she's in there reporting from the ground. You know what I mean?
So
Reporting
speaking
on
of
the
like,
ground.
what is her past life like? What is related to the fact that she was a defector? And I think why she's popular is because she's like, she's good on camera, she's pretty, she's well spoken, she tells a good story, she went through a lot, so she has a lot to tell instead of
Mm-hmm.
just something easy and not so memorable. So what is her past life parallel that made her go through that? Because that's a pretty
Okay,
hard.
yeah, sorry to cut you off. Yeah, that's a great question. And what I'm getting very strongly is that she had close ties to Kim Jong-un. And so this isn't the first lifetime where he's been a dictator. Okay. This is something that he has to get through. And she was actually imprisoned before, and she basically says, as she leaving, the soul is leaving and it's transitioning into the spirit world, she says, I will never let him, and I'm channeling this, I will never let him imprison me ever again. Come hell or high water, I will break free.
Does he
So that
know
is what
her?
her goal is, huh?
I'm sorry. I won't jump around a little bit. Let me stick to what you're saying. So she was imprisoned by him in a previous life, or he was in prison?
She was this is not the first time that he's been a ruler.
Okay.
And we are our ancestors.
So what is she
Okay.
supposed to learn from this? To not to be self-reliant and not be in prison, and to break free and to run and survive?
The ultimate lesson that we all have to learn is self-love. So not only does she have to tell her story, but she had to find enough self-love within herself in order to be, in order to tell the story. If that makes sense? Okay, let me break it down, because that doesn't sound very good. So, okay, she escaped, she gets out, but there's so much fear there. There's so much uncertainty within her. There's so much, anxiety. There's so much lack of courage. Well, this is all the stuff she was experiencing when she left. Huge anxiety. She was actually traumatized. It's trauma upon trauma upon trauma upon trauma that she experienced. Well, the only way to get away and really effectively move ahead from all of these traumas is self-love. That's the basis of every traumatic event, right? You have to love yourself enough in order to move past it. Now, do you understand what I mean by that?
Enough. I mean, it's hard
Okay.
to.
For instance, okay, take an alcoholic. Okay, because I deal with addicts all the time. They're a different breed, but I deal with addicts all the time. And you find with addicts, they have one addiction. You clear out the alcohol and they're addicted to porn, they're addicted to something else, gambling, shopping, whatever it is, right? They
Okay.
have this addictive personality. Why do they have an addictive personality? Because of the pathways that have been set within their brain, laid down in their brain, due to the traumatic experiences that they have been through. Okay, how does an alcoholic actually recover? Well, or as somebody with any addictive personality actually recover? Well, you have to find that self-love within you that says, you know what, I'm not going to take myself down this destruction or this destructive path anymore. Okay, so that's what I mean. So because she's experienced such compounding levels of trauma, she had to really find it within herself that she loves herself enough and finds that her story is so important. Come hell or high water, no matter the consequences. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so that's the reason why. Does he have a connection to her in the past life? Or I guess let's just start with, like, does he present day know of Yeonmi Park? Does he know of her? Does he consider her a threat?
Very dangerous.
So he knows her.
Very dangerous. Yeah, but there's been reports back to him about her.
So does he have any active agents going after her in any way?
Not at the moment, but I believe that they will plan to.
Will she ever be um killed or compromised by North Korea?
Wow. Okay, let's make a time movement. How far do you want to go? 10 years? I mean, don't forget, these people will get you 20, 30 years down the line. They'll
Let's
never
do 10
forget you.
years. How much damage can she do? And then 10 years, it's like the trend is over anyway, so maybe they kind of forget about her.
No,
If-
they'll never forget. Never forget. He would never forget. She's marked. That's what I mean about the self-love. You've got to, but then you have to think in 3D conscious mind thinking terms. I mean, is it self-love enough to put the message out there, or is it self-love enough to protect yourself? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You see, like you and I, because we have families, we're like, oh no, we can't do that because we care about our families too much. And but for her, does she have kids? No, she doesn't have kids. So
Yeah,
I
she has a
feel
son. No, she has a son now. She just
she
has a
has
son.
a son.
Yeah, she just has a new baby. I don't know, under 3, I think.
Do you have a baby under the age of 3? Younger. Okay. Yeah. But she's put this information out long before. Did you put this information out before he's born? Yes. She put information out there before he was born.
Is she afraid for his life, for her son's life?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes she is.
Will the North Korean leader try to kill her and her son?
Let's see. Are you going to try to kill her and her son? If we can. Okay, so let's make a time movement. So 10 years, 2031 is Kim. He's not in power in 10 years. He's not in power.
So could we say, will North Korea do it, or it doesn't work like that because you have to do the deep mind probe?
Yeah, I really need to. I mean, I can use North Korea as an entity, but really it's easier to do a deep mind probe. But I don't feel he's going to be there in 10 years. Is he going to,
Can you probe her?
2031? Is he going to be, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Is she there in 2031? Okay, there will be an incident where somebody tries to kill her, but she lives. And all that's going to do, see, okay, that incident, all that incident is going to do is further push her agenda. You see what I mean? So as she's starting to settle down a bit and be forgotten about, this comes around and then it comes back out again.
So it has in 2031 has conditions in North Korea improved? Can you deep mind probe Yeonmi Park and see if she's satisfied with any kind of improved conditions in North Korea now that we know that Kim Jong-un won't be in power?
He's dead.
Well,
He's dead.
What about the people?
What about the people? Is information coming out? A little bit more information is coming out. Is there a female in power? No, it's a male. A little bit more information is coming out. He's a bit softer, this new person, but so that, I mean, the fact that they're allowed to put out more information is quite an achievement.
What about the people? Are they still starving over there?
She doesn't know.
Okay. All right.
She has no contact
before, and timelines change or whatever the case is, and
I don't find that timelines change. I find that they can be delayed.
Well, nevertheless,
I don't find that they change.
It's hard to go out 10 years and rely on that. What about America? I mean, she's kind of outspoken about maybe the ridiculousness of some of the social justice warriors. She's been called a racist because she was robbed before, and she went to call the police. And she's been outspoken about little incidents like that. And she's seen dictatorships and communist stuff firsthand. And she feels like, I think she's in California, and she felt like America was going down a slippery slope. And like, she's been on Fox News and things like that, and people criticized her for that, even though she doesn't really take a stance in American politics. But what does she think in 10 years in 2031 about how America is at that time? Has it changed for the worse?
I feel like she's telling me it's very separate. There's lots of different encampments. So whereas before you had really two firm, liberal or Republican encampments. I feel like it's very diverse now. You have different encampments, so you have different belief systems, and you can already see some of that now. So you look at the QAnon people, right? They don't. You look at, some of them are liberal, some of them, I don't think you have to be Republican or liberal to follow QAnon or these little spin-off groups. So that's what I'm getting, that there's going to be like spin-offs groups that people will follow. They no longer trust the government for the information. They're no longer taking any sort of political stance. They're following these groups, and they're being led by these groups. Isn't that funny how human nature has to be led by somebody?
Yeah, that's human nature. You said it best. Okay, is there anything else to follow up? I think that was a really, really good session. Very eye-opening and a great use of your strength, the deep mind probes.
Is there anything to follow up? No, but if anybody wants to pose like questions, like intelligent questions, please don't pose like rubbish. All right. Because I'm going to go ahead and give you the benefit of the doubt that you're a really good, intelligent crowd. That's why you're tuning into this. So if you have some good questions down there, drop a line.
Yeah, and they can always do a reading.
We can do a follow-up.
I'll put your website down in the description like I always do. And then people can book with you and ask about either their own past life or their family members, and do deep mind probes on business, which is what I use you a lot for.
Yeah, a lot of people use I get more business readings than anything, I think. Yeah, business readings, money readings.
Well, it's just been eye-opening to me because there's just things that there's no way you can know unless you're in it, and you just nailed it so many times. And I think I've gotten messages actually from people, like, after, I'm not gonna like screenshot or anything because they were messages, in private. I didn't relay them to you, but you know they're like, I can't believe it. What does she do? Is it mind reading? She was worried about, like, she has a Christian faith, so she was concerned with, is it demon? Like, she was, you could tell she was mind blown a little bit and didn't know what this is or what it was. And no one does, I don't think. And I think when we try to pinpoint it, I put so much thought into it. A lot of the stuff that you and I come up with, they actually cancel each other out.
You're so funny. I mean, no, I don't play with darkness. I mean, you only have to review the videos, and I'm like, aliens are darkness. This is dark. I know people love aliens, and I'm willing to skirt on the edge of that. But I mean, no, listen. I know it scares people. It does, and it shouldn't be scary.
You stay away from the aliens to the point where it's not worth, teasing people, essentially. You know what I mean? If they're coming in. Anyways, I'll stop the video here on North Korea, and then we'll
Okay, great.
see if this one goes. Okay, let's see something.